We're just gonna run it. Oh, it went live real fast. Okay, all right. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Sander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. Today is going to be one of those interesting shows. We are going to give you as much information as possible about some low risk investments. That's what I'm going to be giving you today. It's low risk investment ideas. Now, I was giving you guys some low risk, and I was giving you all kinds of ideas before, but now I'm actually giving you straight up, specifically low risk investment ideas. That way, you guys can improve what you've got going on, because we can't just talk about doing better, being better, and achieving more. We have to actually really strive for that. So before we get started, I want to make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Why is that screen blank? Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Also, make sure that you join the membership as soon as you can. If you look for you guys over on TikTok side, over on the bottom right side of the screen, you guys see the the subscription button. You click that subscription button, it takes you over to the YouTube platform. Then you can push the buttons that you need to push in order to join a membership, or just subscribe to the platform. And while you're on the platform, you can see our merchandise store at the top of the screen. We've got some new advancements on our store. You can also see the lineup that we have for the rest of the month of September. I have been putting up shows going as far as October now, so just go take a look at those. We got some shorts videos releasing. Nice screen name, ass. Oh, and we got a Karen in the house. Great. So since we got that going on, you guys make sure that you like and subscribe. Hit that follow button on TikTok and on Twitch and on Twitter. We're trying to hit some goals in all those areas, trying to grab some stream keys and combine everybody's communication into the same location. So, I spent the last 30 minutes, well, actually hour, 20 minutes getting the internet back up and going, because after the modem burnt out, I had to get the modem replaced. And now I'm trying to see if we can get this done today with no lag and no interference. And so far, I've seen a little something over on StreamYard side, but it looks like that could be something unrelated. So today we're going to be talking about low risk investments with high returns. And to the best of our abilities. Oh, that's why, because it is not letting me go over there without it kicking me out over here. Well, I just figured out, like I said, it was unrelated. I just figured out why it's doing that. So because I have a third window popping up that's becoming a primary window in order for me to review this information, it is shifting my ability to see everything at the same time. So let me try something real quick before I get started with giving you guys all of this information, because one of the things that I like about this Lenovo i7 is that it has like a picture-in-picture kind of option, and I can kind of like put one thing in one spot and then activate another thing in another spot, and then activate another thing in yet another spot. And that, when I start doing that way I can kind of see everybody. Okay, let's make sure we got the comment section up here ready to go. And let's do a trifecta. So we're going to put you in window 2. We're going to put you in window 3. Well, probably should have put you in window 4. And then let's get TikTok in primary. Are you going to be in primary window? You're going to make this make sense. Give me just a second here, because for some reason it looks like that is the only one that doesn't want to squeeze itself into a window. But oh wow, so when I put it into a mini window, it takes it out of the primary window. Now that's dirty. All right. Well, it still don't matter. I managed to make it work. So now I kind of got like a side by side with a side by side. So I'm gonna get Oh boy. Oh boy. So let's see. Let's increase the visuals because I'm blind, visually challenged, y'all. All right. No, 125 is a little bit too high. Let's do like 110. Like let's do 115. Oh no, that's like 1,015. No, let's do 115. I'm adjusting my zoom because we're about to get started here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Now everything's in one spot. So while you guys are coming in on TikTok, I appreciate y'all coming in. Make sure that y'all hit that follow button and then like and subscribe. If you're still hanging out, join a membership. Make sure that you pay attention to the fact that we are live 7 days a week, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. So get in line with just about everything that we got going on around here. So want to see you guys on a regular basis. Without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about these low risk, high return investments that we got going on in 2024, going into 2025. And I want to talk about them right now before we start talking about Project 2025's effect on government after Project 2025 gets in office, because y'all already just seen what happened with that random dismissal. We're going to be talking about that on one of the upcoming shows about that random dismissal. I told y'all that shit was going to happen. It's just going to make the case disappear as opposed to getting immunity. But we're gonna run a whole show on that. Right now, let's start talking about those big money schemes. One of the reasons why, if you start making better decisions about yourself, you're going to start seeing Project 2025 not negatively impact you as much. But until you start making those better decisions, it is what it is. So let's start talking about these low risk things. So we have, in today's society, we have nobody really knows where to put their money. A lot of people are afraid to put their money in the high risk because they don't want to lose it. A lot of people have too much chaos going on in their life, so they can't invest. And because they can't invest, they can't invest because they need the money back almost immediately. You put it up there, a few weeks later, you got to go get it back because you got an emergency. You put it up there, a few days later, you got to go get it back because somebody you know's got an emergency. All of these situations that negatively impact your ability to stack your money up. So I keep trying to tell you to avoid all of those chaotic situations, those people that keep requiring you to come out of pocket in ways that you normally would not come out of pocket, because that's not going to aid you or improve you in any way, shape, or form. I know that you help your homies out, and I help my homies out too, but you got to remember that you got to take care of number one in order for number one to have enough money for number two. So let's focus on number one. Now, we look for the low risk or the seemingly risk-free investments, because those are the ones where you can put your money there. It's guaranteed that you're not going to lose it. The only difference is in those risk-free investments, you're not likely to see as much gain as you would in high risk. Now, since we're only talking about pretty much low risk investments today, these are going to be the ones where you're not likely to take a loss. And if you take a loss, it's going to be on a rare occasion. And the more riskier the low risk is, the more probability that you're going to lose something. So we're going to start off with something that I talked to you guys about before, because I want you guys to pay attention to this as to why I mentioned it before. And after I go from there, I'm going to start building up onto the other areas of low risk, high reward investments, so that you guys can kind of pay attention to where I was coming from about 2-3 months ago when I first told y'all about this. So you could always go to the YouTube channel and see some of those other shows. And I'm actually going to try to make a few highlights and throw them up on TikTok side as well. So Twitch has got the reel to reel. Twitter's probably the only one that I got to figure out, like share a link over there or something. But either way, check this out. First thing I told y'all about before, they don't have high interest rates on savings accounts, but they have high interest rates as incentives on checking accounts. And I told you this before, that if you grab you a bunch of small checking accounts, you put your little bit of money in there to meet the maximum or minimum expectations of that particular account, they've got credit unions going as far as 7.5% interest on up to about $500, and your regular bank accounts that are doing 5.31% right now, up to about $500. And when I was telling you guys about putting the money into the accounts, and I was coming from like an undermined situation, I wasn't talking about, oh yeah, I'm going to fill out my, 1089 or whatever, and report it to the IRS. It was just like, put it into the bank. Nobody's going to say nothing about it. And if you don't claim it, like waitresses don't claim tips, then you would just be making a shit ton of money that nobody knows about. Because if you are making less than $10 a year in interest off of a bank, that nobody tells the IRS about it. So when I was telling you guys about that, and I know a lot of people are thinking, oh yeah, that's a waste of time. Yeah, probably is, because you have to think about the fact that, are you really going to try to manage 8,000 bank accounts? Because there are 8,000 financial institutions in the United States. More than that, there's actually about 4,400 banks and about 4,500 credit unions. And credit unions are not banks. So there's a total of 8,000 financial institutions that you can utilize. And if you spread your money out, you would be able to gain more returns. The average would be about 5.5%, depending on where you go. There's 2 credit unions right now that are over 7%, up to $500. One of them is a guaranteed lifetime interest rate for that particular bank. The other one, I think, might have like a 444-day limit on it, and then after that, it goes down to the standard rate. And that's one of the reasons why I say, if you take a look at these accounts, you get to determine the quantity of time that value is there. You get to determine the usage of that account. You get to determine the rate of service, like if you got to put it in there for a certain period of time, what's the minimum balance, all this other stuff. You check these things out, and then you go and grab the ones that make sense for you. Now, when I was telling you to do it, I was telling you originally, hey, take a couple $100, put it into this account. It's not going to make you more than $10 a year. You're going to say, oh, that's not enough money. It's not worth my time. Oh, yeah, it is, because if you've got enough of those accounts lying around to where you're making $50,000 of unreported capital, I mean, you got $50,000 of unreported capital. You're supposed to report it. I got to tell you, there will be in the law. But if you just so happen to not say nothing because nobody else said nothing, nobody knows nothing. Till you start moving around $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 at a time, that's when people start filing that form that they let everybody know, hey, this guy just moved 10 stacks. You don't move 10 stacks. You move 8. Nobody will file a form. But the fact is that when third parties start reporting your money transactions for you, then you've got to go and confirm that with the IRS, with the United States government. If nobody's telling anybody that you're moving money around, then you don't have to tell anybody that you're moving money around. You're supposed to, but you don't have to. So unless they catch you not doing it, the way they got the Whistleblower Act out there, where if somebody reports the fact that you got money moving around that nobody knows anything about, then they're going to audit the fuck out of that person, and then that person's going to have to pay back taxes for everything they didn't pay before. So you don't want that to go down. Always report your stuff. Always get your tax write-off so that you don't got to cheat the system. If you're going to go for the maximum of everything that they got to offer, they got a $500 bank account at 5% interest. Get the $500 bank account at 5% interest. Just get you 100 of them motherfuckers. If you're getting 5% interest, you get 7% interest. Those are going to be the ones that are guaranteed low risk, and I call those emergency funds. And the reason why I call those emergency funds is because that is the only investment that you will be able to put your money into that is guaranteedly able to snatch the shit out tomorrow out of an ATM machine from anywhere in the fucking world. Now, everything else that I start talking about after this, you're going to be dealing with penalties for withdrawal early. You're going to have maintenance fees on some of these accounts. They are reducing and eliminating some maintenance fees on some of these situations like the CDs I'm about to start talking about, because they're trying to give you guys an incentive to give them your money so that you can get so that they can get more money off of your money. Because from what I understand, I think they get $100 off of every $1 to $10 that you deposit into their possession, and you've got to fill out a whole nother form with the IRS in order to claim that money back from them. I didn't even know that. I got to do research on that, because I'm like, wait, what? You're telling me that like I could be getting money back from me, but most of us didn't even know that our social security number was our stock option. We are walking stock options. I talk about that metaphorically in our relationship conversations, but technically we really are walking stock options. Somebody freaking took out a loan against our name or invested in our statute when we were born, and value has been going around under our social security number since day one. And that's one of the reasons why we borrow against our name, and that's why our name holds no value when we don't invest correctly. But one of the things that we have to do is we have to start figuring out how we can turn ourselves into a walking business and then start making money, make money for us. So I said, start off plot number one. If you go and grab you a shit ton of high interest checking accounts, those high interest checking accounts, you meet the maximum quantity of money that gets that particular percentage. You don't want to go over because it's unnecessary, because it's going to go all the way back down to like 0.5, 0.52, 0.47% interest rates. You don't want those interest rates. You could do way better than that. You could go to fucking treasury bond right now and get more than that, which we're going to talk about those today anyway. So you want to put enough in there to where you're getting the whatever it is that you're satisfied with the 7% from the credit unions and the 5.5% from the bank accounts, and that's guaranteed to happen annually, as long as you don't take the money out of those accounts. Now, if you get those accounts and then something happens, you have an emergency, you can withdraw those money. So online banking is a thing now. They're going to mail you a debit card. If you want to go through the trouble of snatching money out of a bunch of bank accounts, you can do that. I've recommended getting a Clio account, because if you get yourself a Clio account, and I should put a link underneath the show about it, you get yourself a Clio account, and then you utilize that to redirect all of your money to the same location, and then you could just spend the Clio debit card, one-stop shop, where you're complaining about me talking about you putting up 1,000, 2,000 bank accounts all over the United States, where you got banks on the East Coast, banks on the West Coast, banks in Central, banks in the North, banks in the South. When you start traveling and you need to go into a bank and do something, and you find out that your bank is in that city and in that state, you actually are going to start thanking me, because if you live on the East Coast and you fly to the West Coast, your bank does not exist. So whatever shit you're going to be doing, you're going to be doing at the ATM machine and over the phone. If you had a bank in every city, every state in the country, you had at least 50 banks, then you would guaranteedly be able to go to your branch and get something done. And if you have multiple banks in every state, then what one bank won't do, another bank will do. And you're less likely to be fucked over, because you could just leave, but you also don't have that much invested in that particular bank. And most of these banks you're supposed to be utilizing to just hold your money until you get your interest back and go do something else with it. So all of the benefits for that. And then I'm going to be talking about how you guys got to pay taxes on the shit down the line. We're going to get into that. But this is like the lowest risk. And since banks do not have a limit to how many accounts that you can open, until they change the interest rates of the account that you are opening, you can open as many accounts as you want in that branch and put that specific amount of money in that branch. And then you are guaranteed to get that much interest every year until they send you a notice that's telling you that you're no longer getting that value. Then you can take all your money out of that bank and go put it into another bank. Now, that's base. Tier 2, we're going to start talking about like second tier investments. Certificates of deposits. These are CDs. These are the types of savings accounts that are offering fixed interest rates over a specific period of time. And these are the ones that are typically going to be used by banks and credit unions. So just like I told you about the checks, you do the same thing with the certificates of deposits. You're basically giving the bank money that they're going to use to put money in their pocket, and in return, after a certain period of time, they're going to give you your money back with interest. Now, if you take your money out before that, there's going to be fines to pay, early liquidation fees. They are now doing away with maintenance fees. So when you activate the account, you don't got to pay a $10 or $15 a month premium for it on most of these places, because they're trying to give you the incentive to do it. But these things have like really decent incentives, because while your checking accounts are saying, hey, give me $500 and we'll give you 5%, a CD like the one with Discover says, give me at least $2,500, I'll give you 5.10% for 9 months. But you got to remember, you got to read between the lines, because it's 5.10% APR or APY, so it's annual percentage yield for 9 months out of a year. So you're going to get 3/4 of 5.10%. See, you're not getting a whole 5.7%. So if you put in $2,000, you're thinking that $2,000 should get you $110, right? 5.10%. But you got to understand that since it's 9 months out of the year, it's not going to give you a full $110 because it's only going to give you 9 months of that because it's compounded daily for 9 months, not compounded daily for 12 months. So you're not going to get so you're probably going to get about 3.10 or 3.8%, something like that, which means that you're probably going to draw back in 9 months. You're probably going to draw back like I would say probably $60 on the $2,000 or $600 on the $2,000, something like that. But it's still a decent quantity of money, but they have a minimum deposit amount. So if you're not sitting on $2,500 of extra money to throw around, that checking account idea that I told you about, putting a couple $100 into a high interest bank account and just open up a shit ton of bank accounts, that would be probably more beneficial for you, in my opinion. They have other CDs such as the Ponce Bank. They're also doing 5.10%, but theirs is 3 months. But the best part about theirs is that theirs is going to be $1 minimum down deposit, as opposed to Discover requiring $2,500. So if you only had like $500, you want to throw some money down on a CD at 5% interest for 3 months, you throw it down and you're good to go. You get your money back in 3 months, and the percentage that you get, you can reinvest that back in and do another 3 months and just let your money stack like that. We'll be talking about how your interest rates differs from your investment rates and how that's going to negatively impact your taxes. Now, these things are varied. You got Sallie Mae, they're doing theirs at 5.10% in 10 months. Western Alliance Bank, they're doing theirs at 4.6% interest for 3 months. Citibank is doing theirs, and I know a lot of y'all know Citibank on the East Coast. They're doing theirs at 3.5% for 13 months. It gets longer and longer. They got Sallie Mae doing another one for 5.15%, which is 0.05% higher than the last one if you let them hold the money for 14 months. And then Discover has another one that is 4.6% for 12 months. It also still has a minimum $2,000 put out. And Western Alliance Bank, 4.75% for 12 months. Citibank got another one, 3.5% for 11 months with a minimum of $1,000 down. And Western Alliance has a bi-monthly, or not a bi-monthly, like a semi-annual for 360 or 4.3%. And one more from Discover. And these are just the best ones that are in there. And the lowest one that Discover has is 4% for 24 months. Now, I don't know why the fuck they're going to tell you, give me $2,500 and I'll get you 4% in 24 months. But the same bank will say, I'll get you 4.6% in 12 months. The same bank will tell you that I'll get you 5.1% in 9 months. Well, shit, I might as well just give it to you and get my 5.1% in 9 months and just keep putting it back every 9 months. They don't think about these. The consumer doesn't think about this. The company thinks about this because they're like, shit, they're going to make theirs off of it in 24 months, but they're not really giving you as much back as they would if they only held your money for a short period of time. Now, slightly more difficult than CDs is money market accounts. Money market accounts are going to give you checking and savings account options that have interest in them, but they're going to be asking you for amounts upward of $2,500 to open the account, and a mandatory requirement to maintain that balance, in addition to transactional requirements, whether it's transactional fees or minimum transactional usage to maintain that. Then you also have the other thing where you have to deal with the usage fees, and some banks will waive that. But before you open your account, you got to flip through the pamphlets and see how much stuff they're going to make you pay in order for you to rock that way. It's still low risk because you're going to put your money into the account and you will not lose the money that you put into the account in stocks, bonds, and trading. The only risk you have is if the bank goes under while your money's still in the account. But you do have to deal with those fees. Now, those fees are going to be a loss. So you got to just remember that minimum fees apply and usage fees will apply. So you just think about the fact that when you're doing these low interest or low risk investments that the ends can justify the means. But if you're not making more money than you're putting into the situation, it is not worth your time. You have to be able to start drawing back somewhere more profit than investment so that this can balance itself out. Now, understand when starting up a business, you might have to put your money into the business for 2 to 3 years before you start seeing a return. But that's because that business will be providing you with residual income after that. People call it passive because you did the work already and you're still receiving the money, but it is not passive, because if you did a shit ton of work without pay before in advance to payment, and now you are getting paid that money, that is not passive income. That is residual income. Residual income from past work, money that is still coming in now from work that you did before. That is what that is. Passive income is like an inheritance. Somebody sent you the money, you spent it. It passed through you, passive. But if you had to go grind at some point to earn it, and then eventually after you did the work, somebody gave you the money, that is not passive. That is residual. That is money that is still coming from work that you had did before when you was doing a bunch of work without pay, and now you're getting a bunch of pay without work. That is residual. That is the results of your actions. So make sure that you pay attention to the difference. I know some Fortune 500 bigwigs might jump on and try to contradict me on that, but when you think about the ideology of the difference between passive and residual, the full totality of the definition of the two, they're going to be like, yeah, he's right. That technically is not passive, but we call it passive because we don't have to work for the money anymore. The money just comes. Investing in stocks and bonds is more passive than anything because you're only taking money from somewhere, putting it somewhere, and then letting it sit and then letting the interest come in. That's more passive. But if you're doing something like drop shipping and you have to order the products, you have to advertise the products, you have to run sales on the products, you have to ship the products, or at least confirm that the products got shipped. You've got to notify Amazon that your products got shipped so that you can get paid for it. And then you have to pay the platform and then take the debt. That's work. That is not passive. All that shit, that is not passive. And then if you're going to call yourself trying to quote unquote automate it, you got to buy the shipment in bulk. You got to make sure that Amazon gets it. You got to itemize all the shit. Then once they get it, then they're going to package it up. They're going to charge you for it. You got to make sure the money is there for them to charge you to ship it out on your behalf. You got to watch your inventory levels. You got to pre-order. Then you got to ship it to them. Make sure that the pre-order gets there before you run out. That's still work. It's not passive. It's just residual income. You set all the shit up on the 1st and you still get money on the 31st of next month. That is residual. But back to this, when we're talking about investing high reward, low risk. Government bonds. Some of these government bonds are pretty sweet because while these government bonds are low in comparison to CDs and money market accounts, the fact is that some of these government bonds are typically tax exempt until you take the money out. Like they're not actually always taxing you on a lot of this stuff. But even if they are taxing you on this stuff, you've got some of these that are actually very beneficial for you. For example, the treasury bonds. So those are the ones that are going to be boosting up the US dollar because they're paying towards the deficit. And then they're going to be considered one of the safest ones that you can utilize outside of using banking options because they have a fixed interest rate for a specified period. Now, since the government bonds are a good option to utilize because investors who want to earn a steady return when those treasury bonds or other such bonds that I'm about to start talking about do either quarterly, annually, or monthly payouts, you start getting money from them on a regular basis where you're putting all your money into the US dollar and then the US dollar starts spitting money back out to you. That is a form of passive income because you don't have to put up any work. You just send them money and then collect checks, get direct deposits or whatever. That's a passive action because it's not going to kill you to put the money up. It's not going to be a lot of strain. You're not going to have a migraine on it. You don't even have to watch the shit. You just end up with a deposit. They deposit the money on the 15th of every month. You just know that on the 15th of every month, you're going to get a deposit. The one time you don't get a deposit, that's when you got work to do. You call the people up and say, hey, what happened to my money? Right? So, difference between passive and residual. Prove that point a third time. Now, in addition to that, One of the things that they've done in September of 2024, so that was today. Y'all shitting me. So late breaking news as of probably 12 hours ago, 18 hours ago, September 3rd, 2024, interest rates for 20-year Treasury bonds is 4.125%, where they are accounting for inflation. And I think that that's pretty cool, because originally when I was looking at these Treasury bonds about 2 or 3 months ago, when I was talking about those high interest checking accounts, those Treasury bonds were at 0.9% interest. So as of today, those same 20-year Treasury bonds are at 4.125% interest. And you're going to say, oh, that's not a lot of money. That's not my main concern about the Treasury bond. My main concern about the Treasury bond is it's a 20-year investment. 20-year investment. They're going to give you money back, which is cool. But for 20 years, they will hold your principal. And every time you send the money, they're going to add it to your principal. But they're going to hold that for 20 years. If I am planning on trying my best to live for 20 years, then that's a great job. But that's the rest of your life. That's a prison sentence. 20 years to get your money back. Like, I could have lived and died twice in 20 years. See what I'm saying? So that's the downside for these types of investments. Those stipulations I was telling you about, the CDs, they got to hold your money for 3 months. They got to hold your money for 9 months. They got to hold your money for 12 and 24 months. This Treasury bond right here is talking about holding your shit for 20 years before they give you your money back. Now, you could take your money out sooner, but there are massive penalties. Some have such massive penalties for early termination and early liquidation to the point where you owe money by the time you finish pulling all your money out. So I don't recommend, unless you don't need that money, I don't recommend that you put your money in places where you don't have ready access to it without having to pay a fee. Okay. So the next one up was the E bonds. Now the EE bonds, there's two E's in that one. And the EE bonds is the interest rate for this is going to be from May of 2024, and again in October 31st of 2024. Is going to happen in a couple months. These interest rates are going to be for 2.7%, which isn't as much as the Treasury bond, but they are guaranteed to double in value after 20 years, where the Treasury bond that increases with interest over a period of time is already at 4.125%. They are guaranteeing that the EE bonds are going to be at, like 5.2% in 20 years, where the Treasury bond might be at like 8% in 20 years. But the thing is that the Series EE bonds are a type of U.S. savings bond that are low risk and saves money because they guarantee to double, and the government guarantees to do that within 20 years, even if they need to put the money in your hand to make it happen. So in order for, even if the market is down and the shit ain't working the way it's supposed to go, if it's your time to get the extra money that you were supposed to have, to double the money that you were supposed to have, and you walk away from the deal, when technically the half-life of doubling down your money is supposed to be 16 years, they're telling you they'll do it in 20. If in the event that the market fails and they don't have it like that, they're still going to give you your money. They're just going to take it from somebody else. That's how that works. Now, the minimum investment in those EE bonds is like $25, which is equivalent to one of those other CDs that I told you that only had like a $1 investment option. Now, so you as a personal individual can just throw money down whenever you get money. So just think about every time you're buying that check a $25 drink at the bar, you could have been investing in Treasury bonds. You could have been investing in low risk, high interest rate EE bonds, where you could have really been taking care of business, and you didn't. Now, one of the things that I noticed about the EE bonds is that the maximum amount that you can have in these are about $10,000 a year. But you can make one for yourself, for your kids, for the business, for the dog, whatever. You can do some as a gift. It doesn't really matter. And then you can have 3 or 30 or 40 of them, 5 or 10 of them that you control, where you can put $10,000 into each one of those accounts. And these could even at 4% interest, could get you a decent quantity of money over a period of time. So it's equivalent to what I was telling you before about the 5% interest of unreported money that was going around. This, yeah, it's going to be reported, but you're gaining interest on a larger scale. You don't have to do as much work with moving your money around. So the redemption of the bonds within the first 5 years of purchase, interest payments, or 3 most recent months are forfeited. That's a penalty. I don't like those. After 5 years, there's no penalty for redemption. So if you really need this money, the last 3 months of the first 5 years are gone. So if you put them in there, if you put the money in there, let's say you let it run for a year, you need the money back. You take the money back out of that year, 3 months of interest, the last 3 months of interest, gone. You gave that up. So if it was on an incline where you had low interest in the beginning and you start to get pretty high interest rates on the back end, the last 3 months of good times, gone, because you had to take your money out. So I don't like having to do that, because that sometimes costs overall on paper, it costs you more than what you invested into it. So take that into consideration. But the taxation on EE bonds is the interest. So the principal is not necessarily going to be getting taxed like talking about it. But since you can purchase these for kids and gifts and all this other stuff, you can utilize that potentially, just the purchase of it, as a expense because you bought something. Now, EE bonds are different from I bonds because these are still backed by the government as savings, but the bonds, the I bonds, are designed to protect against inflation, and those are going to be the ones that, just like the treasury bonds, are going to increase with interest every 6 months instead of just once every 10 years or whatever the case may be, because as the market shifts, you want to make sure that you're still making enough money after inflation to be doing all right by yourself. Now, there's the Series I is going to be the one that is going to have rates increasing in May of 2024 and October 31st of 2024. So you got a little bit of time to do some research and figure these things out. But that one's going up to 4.28%. So in combination with the fixed rate and inflation rate, you're going to be looking at interest changes every 6 months based on inflation. And that means that your interest rates are never going to be swallowed up by the cost of living. But if you're not in an emergency and you're not trying to draw your money back out, that's probably the best way to do it, because you're going to be able to get it to get you way more than the secured 5% that I was telling you about, or 7% that I was telling you about on a small scale from utilizing a bunch of checking accounts. Now, your interest rates in your series bonds are similar to your interest rates in your EE bonds, and that's going to be 2.8%. So you have the mutualities or maturity, the maturity for these I bonds, meaning that this is when a contract is over, they're going to hold your money for this amount of time. It's going to be 20 years on the original maturity period and 10 years extended on the maturity, which means you can let it sit there and ride for 10 more years for a total of 30 years. So if you got in on this stuff at 20 years old or 30 years old, and you just kept investing in this shit for 20 or 30 years, where you just let it ride for a little bit, by the time you reach 60, all that money that you put up there that you never went touch, that turns you into a trust fund baby. That turns your kids into a trust fund baby. If you put money into a treasury bond or something to that effect, and then have the authorized user of that treasury bond be a trust, and then you make your kids control over that trust, or have your business in control over that trust, and then put your kids as owners over the will of the business. And then when they find out that the business is attached to this trust, and that trust is attached to this large quantity of money that nobody's been talking about, you're starting to get yours. So tax benefits. Now, the reason why I want to talk about tax benefits, I am not a tax guru. I am going to let you know that off the bat, but I do a lot of research about a lot of stuff. So I'll be able to tell you a little bit about those taxes that is going to impact you in some way, shape, or form, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's ugly. It's going to impact you in some way, shape, or form. And I just want you guys to talk about it, be about it, learn about it, because if you know about it, then you can know how you can find ways to offset the taxes that the U.S. government's going to be charging you for all the money you're going to be making if you're taking my advice. So these tax benefits are excluding some or all of your I-bond interest from gross income if you meet certain conditions. So your purchase limit is a minimum of $50, and you can't buy more than $5,000 per calendar year. And this limit applies separately, so capping an individual's purchase at $15,000 per year. Wow. And then you're going to be doing corporate bonds, and that's when we start dealing with other conditions. So your Series I bonds are considered low risk investments. Your Series I bonds are the interest that is excluded from taxes in certain conditions. So you won't have to pay taxes on it in certain conditions. And then when the conditions do apply, you're going to be paying back taxes on that shit for all the time that you held it. So you got to be careful about that. Talk to a CPA. They're going to give you some pretty sweet information about this stuff. They're going to give you some heads up. If you get you a tax lawyer, they'll give you even more heads up, because you're probably going to pay them to make sure you don't fuck up. And then if you fuck up, you're going to be paying them even more to fix the fuck up. So yeah, you want to make sure that you get somebody that gives a shit about your agenda. Now, corporate bonds are a little bit more riskier than the government bonds, and they're a lot more riskier than the original checking account situation I was telling you guys about. But I'm always talking about make money for you, make money moves. So you're looking at corporate bonds that are a type of debt security system that's issued by the corporation. So what they do is they put out shares of the company, and you pay for those shares for the company, and they take those profits and they balance out the budget so that they don't have to close down. Now, you're guaranteed to get the money, or more so expected to receive the money, as long as the company doesn't go bankrupt. So there is inherent risk involved. Now, the next one is going to be real estate investment trusts. And real estate investment trust is another reason why I'm telling you guys that real estate is going to be the next best thing, because what you're looking at is everybody's going to become an agent. They're going to become a broker. They're going to be trying to buy and sell. They do that as a business. That means that if they go and meet somebody, they're talking about houses, and at that dinner table, that's considered a business meeting. You go to somebody's house, you're hanging out with them, you're appraising their house while they're in there. They're thinking you just take your job home with you. No, you go on vacation with your friend, you're analyzing this property, that's work. It's a work vacation. So I don't know everything about everything, but I just know that because I've started up a few, that there are some breaks in there. And when it comes down to this, because you paid attention to Project 2025, talking about how, big business was going to only get a flat rate amount with all of these deductions, you need to know what they're going to give you to deduct. Then they also said that they were going to be doing a reprieve where big business will only have to pay 13% or less on high yield interest from investments. So you want to get high yield interest from big business. Invest shares into your business. That's how you're able to get it to function better. So with these REITs, this is a type of investment trust that invests in real estate. They offer a way for investors to invest in their estate without having to purchase property directly. The REITs are a good option to involve investors who want to earn a steady income off of the money that they're making, and this will make more money than CDs and MMAs or government bonds. Now, if you're taking that, you're segueing that, you're going to piggyback that off of the loan office or the loan officers that you were talking about just yesterday, then you would also be recognizing the fact that if you are your own real estate agent, you are your own broker or CPA adjuster or something to that effect, and you are investing your own money, short whatever you got to get a trade bot to do or something like that, then you're saving a lot of money in a lot of places, you're taking a risk of fucking up. But as long as you don't fuck it up, you're doing a good job of bringing in that cash, and you'll come to find that it's a full-time job to count money. Now, taking deductions on interest. This is one of the things that I wanted to touch base on today. So actually, claiming the deductions for interest is expressed as a profit margin. So in order for you to get the deductions, you have to itemize. And if you itemize, then you have to show on how much interest they've paid you on a Form 4952, which provides you with all of the details about the decisions that you're making. Now, if you itemize, you may be able to deduct the interest paid on money you borrowed to the purchase table investment, the taxable investment. Sorry about that. Brain farts here, burnout mode. But the margins of loans to buy stocks or loans to buy investment is also in line with sheltered tax cuts or breaks or penalties, because that if you take the profits from your investments and you take it in and reinvest it somewhere else, it's a loss. You don't have it. You didn't make a profit. So back to the topic at hand, you're looking at profits from stocks are taxed as either short-term or long-term capital gains, and the tax returns on long-term capital gains are usually lower than those on short-term capital gains. That could mean paying lower taxes and sometimes even no taxes on profits. Now, what you also can do on these profits when you're taking deductions and interest expressed less than or equal to your net income. For example, if you have $3,000 in your mortgage and you are being asked by the U.S. government to pay up, well, I make 1,000. You want me to pay 3? I don't got it. They waive it. But if they said that, you were supposed to be giving him a certain amount, he's here, and that's more than what you have to give, so you'll give him to that guy. You just save him 33% because you put up your 1,000 to cover his $3,000 debt. So that's another thing that I encourage you guys to go ahead and take a look at. But while I'm talking about it, just make a note that if you pay yourself out of the business dividends, so if you start up your own LLC or stuff like that, you pay yourself income, then as a shareholder or an investor or employee of the month, you are getting compensation from the company, which means that you got to claim that on your taxes too. So any money that you receive from anywhere is considered earned income. So that's going to be a situation that we have to talk about one day. But you also have this opportunity that through personal loans, even though personal loans don't apply to this, there are some loans that singles individuals can acquire that are not readily accessible by big business. And there are other types of big business loans that have pretty decent interest rates on mortgages, student loans, and business loans. So you can figure out a lot of things on this and that and everything in between, where we can give you a lot of pointers and tips and tricks and redirect you to a CPA about other tips and tricks that we're not too sure about. So kind of just felt like we should throw that out there, make sure that you guys know and understand what position you're in and what decisions you have to make in order for you to get to the goals that you're trying to accomplish. So moving on a little bit further, you got taxpayers that can deduct interest paid on first and second mortgage up to $1 million. So this is going to be another scenario where buying and selling real estate will keep you from spending a bunch of money on Uncle Sam. You can literally pull the money out in January, February. You can use the money until like April, May, probably even June, and then you start putting the money back in November. By the time December got there, all the money you took out of your account at the beginning of the year is gone. So you break even. When you break even, you can't tax on that. So the interest rates for a business loan is going to be one of those expenses that you get to that you must pay back. But you have to also understand that you can get you some dividends from the U.S. government, some tax credits from the U.S. government from pulling stuff from underwater. So it's a plus and a minus. But the principle The principal is an amount that the business loan will not give deductions on your tax return. So if you had $9,000 and you put up $9,000, they're going to tax you on the accessibility of having $9,000. Then you have to convince them that everything else that you spent was in the name of somebody going somewhere. That's what they were looking for. Moving right along. When to deduct interest is usually one of those things that you recognize that in Q4 you want to be expelling your capital gains so that you're somewhat broke by the time you finish throwing everything away, because you don't want them to tax you on it. And technically, you don't have to throw them under the bridge. All you really got to do is just park all of the vehicles inside of the garage, close the doors. It is what it is. Now, requirements to qualify for the deductions. These requirements to qualify for the deductions on the loans must be used solely for the business purposes, and the business must be legally liable for the debt. Now, this is going to be coming off of those situations where you're looking at loans where you have 3 years of repayment period, and the interest paid on each of those years is deducted from corresponding tax years. So all of this is going to be leading towards that big business thing where they were saying that they were going to be giving the big business that flat rate 20% with no inflated costs. Now, some of the other things that you can do with your investment money is spend the money on loans. You can offset, you can borrow a bunch of money to buy something such as real estate, and then take the difference out of that purchase and use it as a profit so that you are not required to pay all of that extra cash up front to do your real estate investments. And anytime you buy into or invest into real estate or your business or rebuilding your house, that all of that stuff starts turning into tax write-offs for business and sometimes for personal. And you really got to look at a lot of the tax laws and try to figure out how these laws benefit you, and then try to make these moves happen so that you're not forever working for the sake of somebody else, that you're actually working for your own success. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you guys that you've got to get detailed clarifications of what you qualify for when you're reviewing the stuff which I'm talking about on the show today, but you can also analyze and itemize this stuff with a local CPA. I don't know why that happened. So you have the information from the local CPA. Thank you, Tat. I see designs. Okay. What kind of designs do you do? But if you talk to your local CPA or your tax agent or your tax lawyer, like I told you yesterday, the tax lawyers were supposed to be somebody that aids you in your ability to not make mistakes. And then if you do make mistakes, they'll represent you in court. There was all of those lawyer positions that I was talking about that was open yesterday. Here I'm telling you, here's a job. Tax agents, tax lawyers, these are the people that they don't just file your taxes at the end of the year. They're the people that you can ask to make sure that you're not fucking up the rest of the rotation during the year, so that when you go to do the taxes at the end of the year, that you're not trying to cover anything up. That's some of the stuff that we go for. Now, next to that is basically just saying you're probably going to have to end up in the real estate some kind of way in order to make your situation better than what it is, because you can tax liens. I want to talk about those before I finish my little rant there. Tax liens is something that is a low risk that you can invest in, because when you're investing in tax liens and tax deeds, you have a situation where you're either going to get back a percentage of interest or you're going to lose your cash and gain a property. Anybody who thinks that losing $5,000 for a $250,000 valued house or a $350,000 valued house, I don't know what to tell you. You got to slow down so that common sense can catch up to you. But as long as you're dealing with tax liens, like you throw money out there, a period of time, your money comes back with interest. Some places is 18 to 25%, 18 to 25%, and that's worth it. You still got to pay taxes on the shit, but that's worth it. Now, boiling it all the way back down to why not do some low risk investing so that you can take that low risk investing and utilize it to invest into moderate rate investing, and then use the profits from that to level you up to high risk, so that if you do lose some, that the average of your entire workout platform is still uniform. So with that being said, that is the last that I have for the information about low risk investments. And we're going to be, again, tapping into a few other things that's going to help you make a little bit more decisions. I'm going to try to figure out about some high risk investing and moderate risk investing and those 500 index, so that I can talk to you guys. And then apps, if you want to use certain apps that you can invest in, TD Ameritrade is one of the best ones to utilize right now, in my opinion, because I mean, it's there and it's more easily accessible to some of the other ones. But you know, you might not like the TD Bank, so it is what it is. I still tell you put your money in a lot of places so that you can have a lot of places to go get your money from. But you know, we just got to figure these parts out. So with that being said, I just want to say I really appreciate you guys for hanging out with us, because this was a wild ride. It's been a long day. We finally got the internet up there. We had a couple hiccups, but not nearly as bad it was when I was hotspotting the cell phone. So I look forward to what we got coming up for tomorrow. I really appreciate you guys coming. And ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you to make it make sense. So ladies, keep making it make sense. And as I let TikTok out the window, I want to make sure that you guys understand that you should like and subscribe and join the membership, and recognize that we're going to be here 7 nights a week, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. So hopefully you guys enjoy the show later this week. Have a good night. Thank you. And now that I have walked TikTok out of the door, I want to tell all the rest of you guys that have been here since day one, thank you very much for showing us support. And we really appreciate you guys. As soon as we throw down on a little bit more, probably going to start flying around, start traveling a lot of the fans. And once we do that, then I'm going to start trying to get some shout outs as to where to go and what to do. And whoever's got the highest vote value is going to be the one that's going to get what I got to offer. So